Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Betting Pros Weekly Prop Bets live stream. I'm Pat Fitzmaurice. Find me on Twitter at Fitz_FF. And we have wildcard weekend, folks. Not just wildcard weekend, it's super wildcard weekend. Yes, for the first time ever, 6 games in the wildcard round, 3 on Sunday, and a Monday night playoff game. How novel is that? I don't know how you guys feel about this expanded NFL playoffs, but I was pretty skeptical when I first heard about it. I thought the NFL was just milking the cash cow and that it was going to dilute the caliber of the playoffs and include 2 unworthy teams. But now I've totally come full circle on that. I'm feeling great about it. Like, I'm so excited about this weekend. And I believe the title of this show is refers to the top 5 prop picks for the week. Heck with that, man. This is super wild card weekend. So I'm going to give you 7 that I really like. And so far in the season, the record here is 58-41. I'm really aiming for that 60% mark. Not quite there, but I think we can get there before the end of the playoffs. And I'm feeling really good about these picks. So let's get into it. And let's start with a couple of quarterback unders. And so 2 of these actually run contrary to our Betting Pros Prop Bets cheat sheet, which is a great tool. But naturally, there's some picks on the cheat sheet that I don't always agree with, and I'm going to pinpoint 2 of those. The first one, let's talk about Ben Roethlisberger, whose over-under on receiving yardage is 229.5. I like the under here. And Big Ben was routinely hitting this number earlier in the season. The Steelers couldn't really run the ball, and so they were sort of forced to move the ball through the air. But really, in the last 4 weeks, we have just seen the Pittsburgh passing game break. Like, it's not working. In Ben's last 4 games, his yardage totals 148, 159, 123, and 244. And it should be noted that the 244 came against the Ravens, who have so many injuries to their cornerback groups. By the end of the season, I think you or I might have been able to throw for 200 yards against the Ravens. So yeah, Ben has kind of been huffing and puffing his way to the finish line of what's been a long and illustrious career. Let's give the man credit. But clearly he is not the player he used to be. And really, this last month has been kind of bleak. Like, he has averaged over that span, that 4-game span, 168.5 yards and just 4.5 yards per pass attempt, which is that is a sickly number. So, yeah, if you're thinking that maybe he gets to the over here in garbage time, let's consider that one of his poor games in these past 4 weeks was against the Chiefs, his opponent this week in week 16. He threw for 148 yards against them, and that was with the Steelers losing that game 36-10. So there was plenty of garbage time in that one, and Ben did not come close to 200 yards. So I really like the under here. And another quarterback I kind of like the under for this week is Mac Jones. The Patriots have been really run heavy all season. They have run the ball 47% of the time on the year. The NFL average is 42%. And the Patriots have gotten even more run heavy late in the season, starting in week 9, from week 9 until the end of the regular season, running the ball on 53% of their offensive plays, more than half the time. So they are run heavy, and I think they have every reason to stay run heavy against a Buffalo defense that has been pretty much by every measure the best against the pass this year. They are number 1 in Football Outsiders DVOA metric. They are number 1 in opponent passer rating. They are allowing only 5.7 yards per pass attempt, the lowest mark in the league, and their completion percentage against is only 56. So even without Tre'Davious White, who tore his ACL on Thanksgiving night, the Bills have just been so tough against the pass this year. And this game, they are forecasting temperatures of around 8 degrees at kickoff. That is running game weather. So Yeah, I really don't see Mac Jones going over on this. I think Josh McDaniels is going to call a pretty run-heavy game, uh, keep things conservative. The other thing is, who's going to make plays for the Patriots in the passing game? I mean, Jacoby Myers is a possession receiver. Nelson Aguilar really hasn't shown up much of the season and not much at all in the last couple of months. Kendrick Bourne made some plays early on. He hasn't really been a big factor lately. So I think this has underwritten all over it. I do want to talk about one over for quarterbacks that I really like, and that is Joe Burrow. And I mean, part of that is just riding the hot hand. Like in week 16, he blistered the Ravens. And, we mentioned the Ravens were hamstrung at the cornerback position, but he hit the Ravens with 525 yards. And the following week against the Chiefs, threw for 446 yards. That was week 17. Then he got a rest in week 18, which was a mostly meaningless game for the Bengals. So Burrow's really hot, and he's going against the Raiders this week. Now, he did face the Raiders in the regular season in week 11, and he threw for a season-low 148 yards in that game. And I'm thinking that's why maybe this number isn't set a little bit higher. But the Bengals won that game pretty easily. They led 13-7 going into the fourth quarter and then really broke things open before winning 32-13 eventually. They ran the ball 38 times in that game against the Raiders, really piled it on with the running game late. Burrow threw only 29 passes. So it was kind of an unusual game script for the Bengals. I think they'll be a little more wide open with the pass. And betting the over here, of course, is a great way to leverage the pass catching talents of Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd. I think the Raiders defensive backfield is going to have a hard time with these guys. So, Burrow's just been fantastic. I mean, his YPA this season, yards per pass attempt, 8.9. And just to put that into perspective, Tom Brady has never had a season with a YPA of 8.9, never in his illustrious career. Aaron Rodgers has done it once. In 2011, he averaged 9.2 yards per pass attempt. At no other point in Aaron Rodgers' career has he hit 8.9. So Burrow is efficient, he's effective, and I think he's going to put up a big number against the Raiders on Saturday afternoon. Let's talk about a couple rushing props. I like Devin Singletary over 64.5 rushing yards. And this is one our Betting Pros cheat sheet, I believe, likes also. The Betting Pros cheat sheet likes the Burrow over. And actually, correction on this. It's not the Singletary one. I'll get to the one the Betting Pros cheat sheet really likes in a second. But with Singletary, for much of the year, the Bills used a backfield by committee. Zach Moss was involved. Matt Breida got involved later in the season. But really down the stretch here over the last month, it has been all Devin Singletary. I mean, his snap shares over the last 5 games, all 5 games over 67% or over with snap shares. And in 3 of those games, he was 80% or over. So they're just feeding him the ball. He's averaged 19 carries a game over the last 4 weeks and 80.8 rushing yards. So he's facing a Patriots defense that is easier to run against than to throw against. The Patriots have allowed the 11th most rushing yards this year. And as mentioned before, we are going to see single-digit temperatures this weekend for that Bills-Patriots game. That is run game weather, folks. So I think, even though the Bills are a passing team first and foremost, I think we're going to get a heavy dose of Devin Singletary on Saturday. The other one, Leonard Fournette, his total is 61.5 rushing yards. And I like the under here. Fournette's coming off a hamstring injury, and, not to be ghoulish here, but there's always a chance of an aggravation of that injury, and maybe Fournette leaves early. And, that's not the way you want to win this bet, but that's one possibility. Even if Fournette is totally fine for this one, I think this is going to be a game where his pass catching talents are maybe tapped into quite a bit, and they use sort of the short passes as their de facto running game. Fournette has averaged 4.9 receptions a game this year. And the Eagles are giving up 6.7 catches to running backs per game this year, which is the second highest total in the NFL. So I kind of think they're going to use him in the passing game a lot. And certainly they don't have Chris Godwin anymore. They don't have Antonio Brown anymore. They won't have speedy Cyril Grayson, who's been filling in lately. He tweaked his hamstring last week, so doesn't look like he's going to be available. I think they're going to need Fournette to contribute as a pass catcher. And, the Eagles' run defense has been pretty solid this year. They've given up the 9th fewest rushing yards. So I think we might see heavy usage for Fournette, but maybe more so in the passing game than as a runner. And I think Fournette has failed to hit 62 rushing yards in 5 of his last 7 games and in 8 of 14 games this season. So the trends are kind of with us here. Let's go over to a rushing prop for a non-running back. I love the over on Deebo Samuel this week, which is set at 28.5 yards, which amazing that we are touting the over at 28.5 yards rushing for a wide receiver. But here we are. And the 49ers had a major sea change with Deebo's usage midway through the season. His first 8 games, he got 6 carries. His last 8 games, and he did miss a game. I'm not leaving one out. Deebo played 16 games. His last 8, he has averaged 6.6 carries a game, 53 carries over that time, and he is averaging 6.2 yards per carry. I mean, the usage is just remarkable, his hybrid wide receiver running back role. And the 49ers have leveraged that, and Deebo has just turned into a superstar. I think they're going to use him in the running game against Dallas. Deebo getting his hands on the ball as much as possible helps their chances to go into Dallas and upset the 49ers. I think he covers the 28.5. And finally, let's go one more. This one's a receiving prop. Gronk. You got to go with Rob Gronkowski over 55.5 receiving yards. Mentioned earlier that Chris Godwin tore his ACL, that Antonio Brown left the team in week 17 mid-game, and no Cyril Grayson either. In the last two games of the season for the Buccaneers, 10 catches for Gronk in both of those, 10 targets for Gronk in both of those games, 7 catches for Gronk in both of those games. The yardage numbers, in week 17, it was 7 catches for 115 yards against the Jets. And then in week 18 against the Panthers, it was 7 catches for 137 yards, more than doubling the number we have to hit this week. So I think he is going to get to 55.5 pretty easily. This passing game is just going to go through Rob Gronkowski and Mike Evans against the Eagles. And the Eagles have had a lot of trouble with tight ends this year. They've given up 1,035 receiving yards to opposing tight ends this year, the 6th highest figure in the league. So really like the over on Gronk this week. And that's it, guys. Check out the BettingPros prop bet cheat sheet for some other possibilities. And it's going to be a fun Super Wild Card weekend. I hope you guys are as excited about it as I am. And good luck to you in all your playoff fantasy leagues and with your prop bets and all your other wagering endeavors. So enjoy Wild Card weekend, guys. I'm Pat Fitzmaurice at Fitz_FF. Talk to you again soon.